Hi, and welcome back to Series 2 for Absolute Beginners. We're still on polygonal modeling, and you may wonder, what is this creature here? Well, this is what I hope we might create. I thought it might be fun to learn some of these basics that we've just gone over and create something. Now, this is by no means a professional model, but it demonstrates several of the things we've been learning, such as the move, scale, and rotate. Uh, we'll practice navigation, the different primitives, and adjusting those in the channel box. We may move a pivot point and duplicate something. So I thought we might assemble a creature. I invite you to follow along. If you don't want yours to be exactly like that, it's fine, but I'm going to delete this and get started. So again, the idea here is to practice what we've learned, and we'll start with grabbing our Polygon primitives menu here. This has the list of all the ones, and I thought, that shape I had, that machine robot, we'll call it. We'll start off with a cube. Now, it built my cube by default at these parameters here. I'm going to delete that and start over again. This time we'll hit the option box and go to edit, reset settings, and create. And that way it will probably start off with the same thing. So I'm going to create a rectangle box. This will be the main body. So I'm going to take the width and click here, and the height, something a little deeper. That looks like a good start for the body. And now that you saw how we can do that, change those attributes in the input box, I also want to review how you can duplicate something. So with this box selected, I can hit Command D, and now I have a new box. So if I'm constructing something and I already have a cube in the scene, sometimes it's just easier to go ahead and grab what I've already been working with. So this little character, if I remember correctly, had these little wings. And you may notice I'm adjusting and moving this around. This is the WER keys. W is for move, E is for rotate, and R is for scale. So I probably won't keep repeating that, but that's what I'm doing here. And duplicate, hit W there, is Command D, and I'm going to take this to the other side. Something else I did in the video, or in the previous one, I tilted these in just a bit, and I notice it's about 5 degrees. I'll go ahead and make that 7. Well, let's do 5. And I think this one will do -5. I think that's angled a little bit more than my previous one, but that's fine. I also angled this box here, and I kind of bent it forward, and I'm pulling on this just to see what axis that is, and that's my Z, and Command Z to undo. So I'm going to move that probably 5. I'm sorry, it's an X, 5 and X. So I just thought I'd do that to get some interesting angles here. While I'm here, I'm going to duplicate this box, and I'm going to stand this one kind of back straight. So and I'm going to the idea is to try to get it on, if I can, in between these two, and just push it back until it sinks in. And I may angle it out some, and then scale it up, push it back, And this just made like a louvered. You've seen the louvered windows, kind of a louvered feel, almost like this thing has abs or something. I don't know, mechanical abs. But just something interesting, and I'm doing all this all with Polygon primitives. Alright, and you can space as you like, or I change this up. The next thing I'll take a look at is probably the arms. And what I had with the arms, I had a sphere with a cylinder, and around that cylinder I had a helix, and it came to a kind of a junction that had a few cubes, rectangular cubes, and I had a big pipe that served as kind of the cannon arm, if you will. So I'm just going to build one side and show you how I would parent that, and then we can turn that around for the other side. So I'm going to start with a ball here. Go ahead and point this, the top, the north pole of that sphere to the side, and I'll hit W or E to rotate, and as I start pulling, I see that's in the Z, and I'll go ahead and give it a 90 degrees rotation, scale that down, and just push that in. And I could do the same thing for the cylinder, and I could bring it up and position in place, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that and do the sphere over. And this time, since it's on the axis in this 0 in X and Z, I'm just going to leave it there and assemble a lot of my arm here. I think it'll just be easier to assemble it here, and then when I'm done, put it in place. And you'll see what I mean. So now if I do the cylinder here, I can pull that down, scale that up. I'll do the helix, and see how these are just lining up a lot. Now instead of scaling, I'm going to I think I'm going to go here to take care of most of this. I think I'm going to do a 0.05. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this ball, Command D, to put on the top. Maybe make this one smaller, and exaggerate this one a bit. Just rearrange things, and now I wanted just a box, which would be a cube, and I'm going to make, and I'm using my navigation like we went over. Remember the Option key, the way or the F to frame. So all these things in this exercise, I want you to practice. And what I'm doing here, I'm just scaling, rotating. I'm spinning around, see how it looks. Take some time, just have fun with it. And if it doesn't look great, that's all right. No one's going to see it. This is just your time to have fun. So that's the base of my cannon. Then I'm going to go and grab a pipe, and I think I will scale this one up, but then, well, I didn't need to. Just give myself a good thickness here. Something like that, and then just scale it in. And I think I like to duplicate this and create like something on the bottom. Alright, I'd like to put these little stripes on the side. If you noticed, I had them in the previous one. So I did that. Let's try what's something we haven't tried. Let's try a sphere, but this time we're going to go into this channel box and take a lot of those subdivisions out just to give myself a different feel. And then I'm going to go to my move scale rotate, and I don't know what function this would have except just make it look neat. Maybe it's for aiming. But maybe one of these on this side, duplicate that, put one on the bottom, and we could flatten that a bit. I'm going to duplicate that and pull one to the left. So now that we have this, we need to parent it all together. So to do that, we want, none of this is going to really move independently. This whole cannon apparatus, we want that parented to this ball joint. So I'm going to keep selecting things. The last thing I want to select is what I'm going to parent to. So all of this is going to be parented to that. I'll open up the hierarchy for a minute, and you see these are all of the pieces here, and as I hit P, so I'm going to go ahead and name this lower cannon, and I won't really bother to name these right now. You can if you want to, and I would encourage it on some of your future projects, but for now it's this is fine. And then these parts, this lower cannon and the springs, I want to parent to this shoulder ball. Hit P, and yeah, and this is going to be shoulder joint. All right. Now, it was a lot easier to do this because everything was positioned in X and Z. And now if I want to go and move this, and because it's parented, I want to show you, and once I get this ball joint in place, I can begin to rotate it I'm rotating this ball, but since everything's parented to it, it's kind of nice. So I can go and pose this arm, and then I take this other one, if you remember, and then we could we can position it how we like. I think on the original one I also had an arrow coming out of the back, but before we do this, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to undo until the arm's straight out. I want to, if you notice, this has a few values in the rotate and the scale and X. I want to clear those back to 0, and you can do that by going to Modify Freeze Transformation. And the reason you would do something like that is now when I make a duplicate, I Command D, I want to move this to the other side. Now I could just rotate it like this, but what I would like to show you is you can go to your scale X, and I can just put in a -1, and that flips my arm there. I'm going to go ahead and freeze transformations again since it had a negative value, and then we can kind of now notice I picked one that wasn't the parent. If I pick the parent, it's going to grab everything. So he's going to, and so we're getting there. I'm going to push this in a little further.